John, we'll start with you. Why has the club made this decision now?
Well, we made the decision now, as we said in our press release this morning, because following the defeat against Port Vale and 6 games without a win, we were looking at the detrimental effect on the business more than anything else. It's not a personality issue, it's an issue of the detrimental effect on the business. Gates are going down and we're continuing to go down, and as business people trying to run the club and keeping it as a viable operation, then we had to look at that first and foremost.
How much did you consider the weight of public opinion in making the decision at this stage?
I think the business is the most important thing. That we've always said that we're stewards here at the club, and we've got to keep this club going, and we want to leave something that's better than when we took over. So we've always said the same thing, and we'd got to a point really where we had to do something to stop the club spiralling downwards, and that's in fact what we all agreed to do on Saturday night.
Why did you choose to extend Greg Abbott's contract in the summer when even at that stage a lot of fans were already calling for you to not renew it? It wouldn't have been a sacking then or a mutual consent. It would have been just not renewing the contract, Andrew.
Well, we'd answered that because prior to that we had a board meeting and we agreed to give Greg an extension to his contract. We'd every confidence to do that. So we're men of our word, and I wouldn't never go back on my word if I could help it. And so we honoured that agreement. But at that time, we still had plenty of confidence that Greg would, turn it round and bring it back, which he did to some extent last year. But we thought a fresh start and we'd get on our bike again.
I mean, the contract extension was agreed, I think, just for clarity, in 2012. Yeah. And we agreed in 2012, in May of 2012, that we would extend the contract in 2013 by a year. Lots of contracts you extend by 1 or 2 years. This was effectively a contract that was due to run out at the end of 2013, June, and we decided a year earlier that we would extend. So we weren't going to change that, having made a decision and having given our word. So it wasn't something that was done in the summer, and it wasn't something that was done under the pressure of fans' opinion, and it wasn't something that was done in the light of having a poorish season last year. As I said earlier, the season, if you look at the last 10 games, and I'll probably get my numbers perfectly right this time, over the last 10 games, which is nearly a quarter of the season, we got 14 points. That's equivalent to a 64-point season. I think that's equivalent to about 13th, 12th or 13th in the league. So we got the second half indicating that we turned that corner.
But even then there was a lot of supporter opinion that it was time for a change. Was that not important to you at that stage? Were the points the only thing and the business side of it that mattered?
Points on the business side are the most important thing, because from the points on the business side we have to keep the club going for the supporters. You rightly say that supporters' opinion is there, but we do get, and you can get, in the region of anywhere between 3,500 and 4,500 different opinions. That's very difficult to all pull together. So we have to, as stewards of the club, take it upon ourselves as directors to ensure that we make the right decisions for the club.
Do you feel it was a mistake to extend that contract in hindsight?
No, I think you're asking the same question again and again. We don't think it was a mistake. The decision was taken in May of 2012, and at that point in time, I think we'd finished at about 8th in the league. And we had every confidence going forward into last season that we were going to go and build on that and push on for promotion. The fact that there were some issues last year, the back half of the season was significantly better than the first half, and so there's absolutely no thought at all that we'd made the wrong decision.
Andrew, could you clarify whether Greg Abbott was sacked or whether he resigned? What are the exact terms of that?
Well, I think, as John has said, we met with Greg after the match on Saturday and talked the whole situation over, expressed the fact that it's affecting the business side of the club, and we just came to the opinion that it was better for all concerned if we all just parted our ways, and that's what happened. That's what the majority of, we have a good relationship with our managers. I've had a ex-manager on the phone this afternoon recommending people, and I can speak to nearly every manager that I've had dismiss at this club or fall out with or leaves the club, and we've got that good reputation, and we want to maintain that with Greg, and we have done, and I'll give him every you know, if he wants a reference, we would gladly give him it. He worked hard for this club, and all he did for the club over the years at Wembley's, and the promotions, we got nearly onto a playoffs and things. So it was an opinion by all of us, wasn't it? Really, that he agreed possibly that was the best thing to do.
Would it be called mutual consent then? I'm just the reason I'm asking is you know, a lot of fans want to know if the club have had to pay compensation with the way that the two parties have parted company.
No, we were under contract, and Greg was under contract to us, and there are certain items in that contract that mean that we will need to honour them. And the terminology that you're trying to allude to is not something that I'd allude to on the air. Let's just, as Andrew's indicated, that we discussed this situation with Greg, and it was felt the best thing at this point in time was for both parties to go in different directions. And his contract will be honoured and honoured in full.
With that then, there are fans who wanted you to let Greg go in the summer, who would want to know if it has cost the club more, your decision to ignore them at that stage. So, you know, has it cost them the terms of his contract for this full season?
Well, in terms of cost, again, you're alluding to the same thing. It was agreed in May 2012 to extend the contract. Having agreed to extend that contract, it would have cost the same in the summer as it costs now, and it would have cost the same had we done it in October, November, December and January of this coming year. So there is no difference whatsoever in the cost. It would have cost exactly the same. The terms of his contract are very explicit and are very real, and I understand them and he understands them because I wrote the contract 2 or 3 years ago, and so the cost is not any different.
What's the plan now? What's the timescale for looking to appoint a replacement?
Well, of course, I think that we put the press release out at about 10:20 this morning, and by 10:30 the first applicants were coming in, and they've been rolling in all day. We have an existing group of senior coaches who are keeping, should we say, the balls in the air for this game coming up on Saturday, and they'll do that. They'll all be doing the job that they've been doing, and they're supporting each other, which is fantastic. We would really like to get to a position. I don't know if it's feasible that we can be near an appointment before the Stevenage game, which is 2 weeks' time, but that might be on time scales that are just too tight. But that's where we'd really like to be.
Is there an opinion regarding continuity, whether you'd like to appoint someone from within, or would you maybe, as some fans have called for, like to look at a completely fresh approach to the way things are done with the manager at Carlisle?
I think any job's open.
Well, it's all open to it. It depends who. If it's going to take 3 weeks or 4 weeks, we would like to try and get the right person. We would wait that long. But with nobody's no. I mean, if somebody within wants to apply, we'll look at it and see. Nothing either way. We haven't been lining anybody up. We were certain we'd bring, you know, we'd turn it around. So with nobody there, so it's a question of looking at the names, try and get as much information out of them, make a short list, and then interviews. About it,
there's no preconceived ideas of who. And if the 3 senior coaches, and I said that to them this morning, if you wish to apply for it and you put your names on the application, that's fine. If you don't want to, and you're quite happy just to keep the balls in the air and keep us going to Sheffield United and Mass, that's fine as well. And we wait and see who turns out on that list. You can't persuade people to put their names on the list, it's up to them.
With that coaching setup that's already in place, they're of course all under their new contracts as well. Would you expect a new manager to work with them, or would that manager be given the opportunity to bring in their own staff if that's what they wanted to do?
Well, it depends. It depends on which manager we choose at the end of the day, who it is, when it is, and what demands they have. They're not just demands coming from the football club, the demands coming from someone who may wish to be employed. So it's a question, it's a pretty good open question, but it's a one you know, James, I can't really answer.
And you know that we have to ask certain questions at these times, John and Andrew, but of course it must have been a very difficult time for everyone involved at the club to do this, to tell a manager that you're going to have to make a change who's worked with you for a very long time.
It's not something that it's not something you look forward to, but it's something that we sat down and all 3 of us sat together on Saturday night, and we knew when we were talking what we were talking about. There was no animosity, there was no tearing out of hair or anything. There was a question of sitting down, 3 people who had a great deal of mutual respect for each other, discussing the situation, discussing the club, discussing the way forward, and agreeing that what was best for Carlisle United, and that's what we did.
Did you have anything to add on that, Andrew?
Well, just that whilst we hoped it wouldn't happen, you always think when you start any manager or anything like this, you think there might be a chance that it's going to happen. So you try and prepare yourself, you know, and it isn't nice, but you've got to do it, haven't you? Might as well not be in the job.
Is it important at a time like this to remember the good that Greg Abbott brought in his years at Carlisle United, as well as how things have ended?
Well, very much so, yeah. You know, I have every respect for Greg. I mean, the number of, I mean, on Friday, was it, John? The number of players who was trying to get in, the contacts that Greg had, you know, not everybody has that. So, you know, he's done really a better job than a lot of people think here, and it's our respect, yeah.
And I know that he leaves with your blessings and thanks for the job he's done, John.
Yeah, he does, and we'll recommend it. And I actually think that he's a good coach. He's learned a heck of a lot in the 7 years he's been here. He's learned an awful lot about budgetary control. He's learned an awful lot about the management of people and the management of a business, and he'll take that forward with him. I absolutely believe that he'll go to a bigger job, probably top end of League One or into the Championship, and he'll kick on because he's a good coach. So it may be that it's an opportunity for him as well. So we do think he's a good guy.
And just to find a couple from me, has the whole experience of this and the way it has ended, has it made you question your own roles at Carlisle United, whether you want this sort of flag that you guys come in for in the position that you have?
No, it doesn't. I mean, look, I think that we do the job because we care about Carlisle United, and we wouldn't be sitting here if we didn't. They're not easy jobs. There are times when we've got to make difficult decisions. There are times, even when Greg was here, that we had to make difficult decisions. We have long and hard debates, but we do it because we believe in the club, and we believe that what, as I say, we want to leave is something better than we took over. And we want to do that in all shapes and forms, whether it be in the form of the stadium, whether it be in the form of the playing side, and it's definitely we want to get them into the next level and beyond. So that's why we do it. We do it because we want to do it. If we didn't want to do it, we could walk away tomorrow. I could, and Andrew could, but we won't do that until somebody comes in that says, hey, listen, I can do this a lot better than you. I've got far more resources than you, and I've got much more expertise than you. But as it stands at present, it's our club, it's local, we're local people, and we're very, very committed to it, and we'll always do what's right for Carlisle United and for the fans as well. And we take a bit of flack, but you know, sometimes you get a bit of glory as well, and we enjoy that when we win. So it's good.
You've talked just there, you've mentioned it again, stewards a little bit earlier, and custodians you've referred to yourselves in the past. When you talk about if somebody wants to come in with more money and take over, do the club need to do more at this stage, given where the finances are, to try and actively seek that sort of either investment into the club or even somebody to come over and help the custodians on their way?
We're doing that all the time, really. We've had, you know, people in even in the last 6 months, haven't we, John?
Yeah.
And we've talked it over with them, but there are stumbling blocks, and you know, it isn't just as easy getting people to come in, but we would welcome people to come in with some financial support. You know, the more money we can bring into the club, the better the team, or hopefully.
But you said before that you'd welcome it. Do you think you need to do more to garner?
Well, we do an awful lot. You know, you're surprised what we do to try and. But we've had people just this season, haven't we? Talking to them, but whether they will in the end, I'm not quite sure. But some people are also wanting to take a club into the Premiership, which when they look at Carlisle, they'll probably say, you know, well, it isn't on really. They'll go to Sheffield United probably or somewhere like that. So it isn't just as easy as that.
I think the big thing is, I mean, this is a long debate, and we'll do it on Radio Cumbria one night, but we've got to make sure that the people come in will take the club forward, and will take the club forward and maintain Carlisle United, that they're not coming in to strip out what's already here. They're not coming in to make a quick buck and move on and sell on to some big wig who might have more money. And they're not going to waste the club. We've had that in the past, and we won't mention any names. We've gone in a certain direction, and the club's gone wrong. We've gone into administration. We had it locally with Gretna, where the club went in a certain direction, supposedly with big money people, and it's now out of business. So part of the job that we do as directors is to ensure that that doesn't happen to Carlisle United. So every Tom, Dick and Harry that knocks on the door says, I want to do something with this club, you've got to vet them and make sure that that doesn't happen. And that's all we do. So it's easy to try and get a hold of a club, it's much more difficult to be dedicated to it and to ensure that there's a club to go forward.
There have been a number of fans who said they wouldn't come back until there was that change of manager. Is the hope now of the club, a view of the board, that that will change and they will now come back, these fans who said they were staying away for that reason?
Well, we hope that they do, but I don't know, it's up to them. We would like to see them rally around the club and give us some support, because I think I said something recently that, you know, the Football League controls our finances, and finances are all controlled through the number of people they get through the gate. But John has to prepare budgets every year, and we have to put a figure in for the attendances. And if we put in 10,000 as our average gate, the Football League would throw it back and say, this is no good to us. We're going to knock it down to 3,500 or 4,000, and then you're limited to 60% of your income on your budget on your playing side. So it isn't just as easy as just as easy as you think. You can put money if somebody's going to donate it, but it just isn't as easy as that. So we are governed somewhat by the new regulations which are there to stop teams getting into administration.
And just a final question, will it be nice in a way to be talking about these games, not about a game for Greg Abbott to save his career, and finally for people, fans, the club to be able to talk about them as Carlisle United needing the points rather than Greg Abbott needing the points?
Well, it was never about an individual, never about a person. You've got to remember that we sat down.
I think it was for the fans there.
It probably was for the fans, but to be fair, the local press have helped to beef that up. They needed a story. You all needed a story, James. Radio Cumbria needed a story, particularly the News and Star needed a story, so they beefed that up and they've done a good job. But at the end of the day, that's not what it was about. It was about 6 games, and 6 games at this point in time, there's 40 games to go. And 40 games to go under any new administration gives this club a reasonable and a very good chance that we'll be talking about out of trouble and moving forward, rather than leave it too late in the season. And I think that's been important, and that's, from a business point of view, probably why we moved fairly early in the season.
So do you think the local media were doing more than reflecting what the public opinion was?
Well, to be fair, I've got to be absolutely honest with you, James. I don't actually listen to Radio Cumbria, and I don't buy the Evening News and Star.
So how do you know that the local media?
I'm only going from what I've been told about them, but I don't actually read them because I would get upset about it, I think.
I could bring you lots of people who had every support behind Greg Abbott, and people who want to put money in. So there are other people that don't ring up. Not everybody likes ringing up the Radio Cumbria or writing to the News and Star. So, there are other people out there. I've spoken to people this afternoon who said they're really sorry because they thought a lot of Greg.
Yeah, I mean, we get a lot of...
when we thought about season tickets, we thought we'd lose thousands. And in the end, I think we only had about 6 letters given or something.
We get a lot of fans' feedback. We have a fans' feedback group. We have a fans liaison officer, as most Football League teams do as well. And we get emails that come through on a fairly regular basis, I've got to say. So, and on Saturdays, we would tend to be out and about. And finally, we're local people, so we do get out and about. When I have a drink on a Thursday night, it happens to be in a local pub. So there's a strong opinion comes through. We listen to that. And that's probably where we take our lead from what people tell us to our face, because that's probably the best way, because they're the ones that are genuine fans, genuine supporters, who really have the club at heart. So you've got to listen to them. And, I'm always busy when you're broadcasting. And so I never hear anything. I never hear anything, but I do come once a year and do an interview with you.
If you have a feedback at the feedback group, the last 2 meetings we've had, and they're all genuine, most of them season ticket holders, and something, there wasn't one question asked about the manager. All they were asking about was how they could help the club to bring more money in. They're really, there's about 20 of them, isn't there? And they're all good supporters, but there wasn't one. The only question was, how did they get on with the manager? It wasn't criticism or anything. It was all what they could do to help the club move forward.
But there were plenty of fans after particularly the Coventry game.
Well, I'm talking about the feedback group that we have. We have a feedback group of how many, Andy? 20, 30 people?
It's 50 odd registered.
Yeah, and we meet them 2 or 3 times a year, and they bring forward suggestions that we can do to make the club better. But none of them came back and said, we're unhappy with that either.
Okay, well, listen, thanks
So
very much
sometimes, yeah.
to everyone at the press conference for allowing us to broadcast this part. That's